The next category winner is the Higher Education and Research category, and that was won by Campus for Central St Martin's in the UK by Stanton Williams. And I think we have a representative of Stanton Williams here. Come on up. Brought your breakfast with you? If you use that microphone.
Okay. Hello.
So, we've got some images of the project up here on the screen. Tell us, first of all, about yourself and about the practice you work in.
I'm Paul Williams, founding director of Stanton Williams, partner Alan Stanton. We've been set up the practice 30-odd years ago. We have a studio in Islington in London. We have a practice of about 60 architects at the moment. And we're working on projects in a wide variety of categories, from museums and art galleries, which are very much our background for Alan and I, through to science laboratories. We have the Sainsbury Laboratories is up for the Sterling Prize, which is going to be awarded in the next few weeks, through to retail, and we're designing 2 residential blocks on the River Thames at the moment.
Okay, and this project, the one that won the category, tell us about that.
We won a competition in 2002 to redesign the Holborn site for Central St Martin's, which is a fairly world-renowned art college. We were then asked to explore the possibility of them actually moving to King's Cross, and immediately became aware that the King's Cross site is wonderful because it has the potential for horizontal development as opposed to the vertical development if you're further in town, as it were. And King's Cross gave them that flexibility of good access and a wonderful facility for 4,500 students and staff. So in fact the building we have created now, or the campus, actually brings together all the design disciplines for the first time in Central St Martin's life.
And it looks from the images like it's a mixture of new and old. Tell us about the site and the design that you've worked on.
The site itself, the new building, which is embedded into an existing granary building. The granary building was built in 1851 by Louis Kubert, and then obviously a number of years ago actually stopped functioning as such. But it, in 1851, would house the grain that came by train from the Lincolnshire fields, as it were, stored and then distributed to the bakeries around London. So the new build is 2/3 of the campus and 1/3 existing building. It's a Grade 2 listed building, so obviously we had to handle it with great care, very closely working with Camden, who were great, and English Heritage.
And what was the strategy in terms of education? I mean, the Central St Martin's, the previous building was a legacy building with a very grand entrance and delicate ceilings and things like that, and
Yeah.
sweeping staircase. So what do students in the 21st century need?
Oh, well, of course, Central St Martin's, in fact, were inhabiting 9 buildings around London, so the idea of Central St Martin's having a centre wasn't the case.
Uncentral St Martin's.
It's not uncentral, because the Holborn site actually was inhabited by Central from about the 1890s, and then Central St Martin's joined them. So it's a fairly new combo. You know, it's in the latter part of the 20th century they joined forces. But I think importantly what this building is endeavouring to do, as I said, is brought together all these different disciplines, and the main aim of the project is to break down the sort of design barriers in a way, you know, and to create a new type of dynamic, so you're getting disciplines working together and to dissolving, you know, the silo mentality that exists very much in art education. So, you know, it's endeavouring to create new slipstreams between disciplines, you know, that rather wonderful uncharted territory, and that's really the basic principle.
So how does that manifest itself? Do you no longer have the print room or the graphic design studio and the the 3D design room. How do you encourage students to rub off against each other?
Well, one of the main differences between the buildings that the college inhabited before is we've created much more shared space. So it's less space in ownership of departments, much more space not under the headings of fashion or theatre or graphics. It's spaces that can be used by all the different disciplines. So there can be either informal or formal learning. There's a large street. There are big spaces where new structures can be built, and the building has been predicated on it. It's about flexibility, and it allows Central St. Martin's to morph, and that's something that Jane Rapley, who was head of the college when we worked on it in the early days, said the only constant with Central St. Martin's is it changes. So whatever it is on day one, it will be different on day two, and the principle of the building is it's a stage for transformation.
And it's a kind of quiet building. It's not a shouting out loud building. Do you have an approach as a firm of architects to the way you feel buildings should be? I mean, it's interesting the contrast between this and some of the architecture you see around Singapore, which is sort of designed to shout loudly.
Well, I think from our point of view, when you're creating an art college, the one thing you're not looking to do is to impose a strong architectural identity. It's the actual disciplines that should create the identity. So unlike a lot of our other buildings, I have to say that are fairly pared down. I mean, we're not a Razzie, we're not an iconic, we don't really support hugely iconic projects, except there are certain times when it's appropriate. But here what we wanted was to create spaces that allowed departments to create their own identity. So this is a building intentionally, when they took it on a year ago, was almost a blank canvas in which allowed departments to form and take ownership themselves. So in many ways we pulled back in endeavouring to complete this project. Walls are unfinished, it's raw timber in a lot of the areas, and walls that are built are soft and they can be knocked down and reconfigured.
I think this is an interesting approach because, like we were talking about the comparison between somewhere like Singapore and London, the King's Cross side is a huge former railway land with some dereliction but also some heritage, and the way it's been developed is quite subtle, isn't it? Like you say, it's quite low, it's quite in keeping with the history that was there before.
Yeah, obviously from a planning point of view, because it's a listed building, and I think appropriately we agreed with Camden English Heritage on the parameters that or the dimensions that any new intervention could be. So importantly, the hierarchy of the new to old, the historic Grade 2 listed building should be in the ascendancy. Of course, when you go back to King's Cross in 5-10 years' time, the building is going to be surrounded by considerably taller buildings, which I don't think is a problem, really. You know, that's quite exciting from that point of view.
Okay. Well, it's been great talking to you. Congratulations on winning the category, and good luck with the big prize later on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.